Well, welcome. Hello, my name is Christine. I am a communications coordinator contractor for the South Dakota Specialty Producers Association. Thank you for joining our innovative drone webinar segment with Sam and Micah. This segment is funded by a partnership with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS, and the Specialty Producers Association to promote sustainable agricultural practices and environmental stewardship. And today we're going to talk about innovative uses of drone technology, and I'm so excited. So thank you, Sam and Micah, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. And so if you guys kind of want to take turns on who you are, what you do, what you enjoy to do, and to share with our guests.
Yeah, I'll start. Okay. Yeah, so I own Dakota Drone Company. I'm not really too in depth with agriculture, but I do like landscaping and mapping for farmers to do like we scan the field and help them get like a yield estimate and count plant count and stuff like that. And basically I just do videography and photography for them if they ever need anything like that. And I also do thermal imaging for like their farming roof or just to do a cattle count. But basically, yeah, more of a videographer than I am about agriculture. So that's why I asked Micah to join us here.
Yeah, well, there's definitely two complete sides of the drone industry. Yeah, you're on the one that probably started up earlier, and now to the newer side of things. In agriculture, basically, they make the things big enough, they put tanks on them, and now we're applicating with them. And yeah, it's been a huge asset. What I did, I grew up a farmer here in Northwest Iowa, actually right by Sioux Falls, and got into ag retail, started doing some custom application, then added drones to the fleet whenever they started making sense. And that's what we do now. Last year we did 6,000 acres with 2 drones, and yeah, and the more it goes, the more I learn and how we can integrate what Sam does into what I do and have them work together and be super efficient that way.
Yeah, I love the collaboration process. I'm kind of like Sam. I have a media background. I'm not necessarily an educated producer, but I'm learning mainly due to these webinars. So I think just starting out, could we talk about maybe the process that you went through where you decided to, okay, take the plunge, get the drone, commit to it, because it is kind of costly. So can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, so you never know until you look into something, and there might be a lot of curiosity and it looks expensive and it looks big. So I started diving in, looking at numbers, seeing how practical they were. And they're to the point where it makes a lot of sense on several different operations. For us, we had plenty of custom makers lined up that we could put through it. And we look at the price of what an airplane charges. That's pretty much kind of how we made it applicable in our operation is what do we pay an airplane? And we take that number and we noticed that was far above what it would cost to get into drones, So we're looking at 1 year, if you spread it out over 2-year payoff on the drone, and you can do it yourself, So it's kind of taking the place of airplanes. When you start looking at airplanes, the numbers are way bigger. $1 million piece of equipment, dangerous, the safety behind it and all that stuff. So and then obviously the bigger player in the game is you bring it to your operation. Farmers can do it themselves. I think we'll talk about it a little later maybe, but how to get the next generation into the farm. It's another touch point that the farmer has on his operation, and he doesn't have to hire it out. So that's how we came to terms with that, and we pushed the numbers, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, always cost effective methods, especially in farming. It's a very hard industry. So I kind of want to explore, let's start from somebody who's never really experienced drones. So when you say you kind of shopped around and you had to find certain ones, was there a specific sector for agricultural drones, or did you have to find a company to modify what you were looking for?
Yes, so there are sectors now. DJI is a very common camera drone. That's how they built their company. A lot of, if you know a camera drone, you know a DJI probably. They make a spray drone. It's a whole new series in their lineup. It's the Agris is what it's called. And now there's several other companies that are also coming up with spray drones. And you kind of see one brand, you research it, then you realize, oh, here's another one, and here's, and you can then you kind of sort out from there. Kind of like, I don't know, let's say you wanted a certain car, you see a Honda, you look into Honda and you find Toyota and then Chevy, so that's kind of how it is, with a lot less cards on the table, a little bit. So the shopping pool is a lot smaller, but that's where I started, and that's all. It starts with conversations. It starts with ideas, kind of like a lot of things start with.
Yeah, sorry if I apologize. I've got a dog in here and she can see a squirrel, so I'm sorry. One really kind of important thing about drones too is, you want to make sure that you can man the drone, so did you have to go through a licensing process? Did you have to do any training? What kind of steps did fall to you now that you're not requiring a pilot in an airplane?
Yeah, so the FAA has a Part 107 license. Basically, they have a rule with any drone that it weighs above 55 pounds or below 55 pounds. These spray drones are far above 55 pounds. So people like Sam, your camera drones are not, so you do not fall under this qualification. So it is a Part 107 license when you operate these drones with the FAA. You need to have a medical card certificate. And then the drone itself needs a tail number, is pretty much what it is, an N number, and the drone needs to be licensed as well. So the FAA has a touch point. There's something called remote ID, and you can actually, on a lot of people know what them flight apps are out there. You can track a Delta or an American airline flight. You can actually pull up these spray drones with the remote ID on and know where they're at on the same software sometimes. So when it's such a big machinery and the industry is getting bigger, they can still, it's a player in the game, so you have to be piloted and licensed for it. And yeah, that was another process of it.
Yeah, and I like, me as a business owner, I just go to liability. Like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, do you have to get special insurance for insuring this? And then are you responsible, like, if something bad happens and there's a spill? Have you ever kind of run into that or had to go through a process like that?
Yeah, so believe it or not, the insurance on the drone itself is your cheap insurance, or is way less. It's more what happens to something else. You run into somebody's house, you hit a power line and it puts some people out of power. Or a big thing in just the ag world with a ground rig sprayer, an airplane, or a drone is if you spray something and the wind drifts it over and you kill people's crops. So your larger insurance policy is actually on the application side of things and not the physical drone itself. Some people actually, I've heard of it before, they've only insured the drone when it's on the ground. Because in the air, with obstacle sensing and obstacle avoidance, it's so hard to crash. There's more wear and tear when you're throwing it around in your pickup or, when it's on the ground. So that was kind of interesting to me.
That is really interesting. That's not, for me, I wouldn't have assumed that. But so I've played with drones that, are probably more in Sam's kind of wheelhouse. And so how big is your drone? What is like the size of what you can apply in one go?
The drone itself, the physical size, if I open up in the quadcopter form, tip to tip is going to be bumping 12 feet. So other than that, it all depends what model. I guess our biggest model has a 13.5 gallon tank. When it's full of liquid, it weighs, 250 pounds flying, taking off. And a lot of that is battery weight, batteries weigh a lot. So that's going through the air. Yeah, it's not your little, you can't stop on a dime like a camp, that's part of the obstacle sensing thing. There's a little bit larger clearances for things.
Mhm. How long did it take to charge one of those drones, like a battery? You have to use like a generator for that?
Yep. So you have a field side generator. How the process really works is you bring the generator out to the field, and these drones come with 8 batteries.
Mhm.
So you come with all 8 batteries full. It takes 2 at a time, and you pop 2 in, and it takes off and it flies. Comes back. You put those 2 on the charger, and really they'll come back with 30 to 60% left, depending on how hard it works out there. You put those 2 on the charger, you grab 2 full ones. So you have 3 more swaps to go through. And by that time, 6 to 10 minutes, those other ones will be full. So you can constantly spray all day. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about how long, for time wise, do you get to spray, but it sounds like you have.
Basically, the batteries will last until you get the tank empty, and then you just switch them out. So, yep. It's like a pit stop in NASCAR, it comes back a bunch of times a day, and you gotta refill it and put new batteries in and get it going. So
It sounds really fun, like besides the importance of it, it just sounds like
that's right. Yeah.
And so can you kind of walk us through what you use it for besides spraying? Are there other things in your agricultural setup that it helps on your daily operations?
So spraying is the liquid side, and then it comes with dry spreaders. So grass seed, anything dry and granule, I can spread aerially. Farmers do that. Cover crops, small seed type crop. And this starts getting into your guys' Sam's realm more with mapping. I don't know what software he uses, but with our XAG branded drone, it has a 3D camera for it. So it attaches to the bottom of the drone, and it lifts up at a higher altitude, and it can map an area. But it's not only recording horizontal obstacles, trees and sheds, it's recording the vertical as well. So if I map over top of a shed, it's not going to rely on its downward sensing to keep it up and down. It'll record the vertical points as well. So if it's coming up to a shed that's mapped in 3D, it'll pop right over that shed. It'll know it's coming, as a straight wall up. So that's kind of neat with the drone itself. And then, yeah, like I said, with Sam stuff, you get pretty much anything else in the drone world, you'll use a camera drone for, and integrate it into the spray drone. You'll map, I do weed identification through the sky, heavy weed pressure areas, that type of thing. So
can you walk us through what like a weed identification?
Yeah, so this is where it starts getting fun. This is cutting edge right here. Is there's softwares out there where it's a Mavic 3 Enterprise, up at 300 feet, and it flies the field, taking pictures every, I don't know how many pictures total it takes on like an 80-acre piece, and it's super high resolution. I upload that into a software, and it can identify where heavy weed pressure is, and it knows the difference between a green corn plant and a green weed, so it's got the differentiation. I can also, in like a pasture, I can zoom in and I can select a thistle, and it will identify those thistles throughout the field. So this comes into a big effect whenever farmers are planning how much to spray. If you only half your field has weeds in it, you can spray that half, and essentially that's a 50% savings. So
yeah, one word that keeps popping into my head is automation. You really kind of automating the process. You're eliminating a lot of things that would be majorly time consuming for you in your daily routine. And so
right. Yep.
I don't have a large acreage, but I want to just go out and buy a drone now. But are there any like limitations on certain sprays? Is there like other things you have to worry about that we can share with our viewers so that they're like, oh, okay, well, I got it, it's perfect,
That's what we'd like to think, right? No, it's just it all comes down to just being responsible pilot. When it comes to what on the like what you're spraying. Chemicals have a very thorough registration process, so they will be labeled if they're aerial rated or not. So if that chemical is not rated to be sprayed through the air, you cannot spray it. Other than that, it's just, yeah, I mean, protecting other people's privacy, staying in, if you're here to spray this field, you stay in that field, you spray it and you're done, not abusing the opportunity and privilege you have to do your job, right? Kind of like anything else.
Yeah, be neighborly.
That's
Respect
right.
all that other people exist around us.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But to kind of talk more about that, are there really any limitations or challenges you've run into in the process of this?
On our end of things, the biggest limiting factor for us, I would say, is labor, really. People really like the way spray drones, like the idea of spray drones. I think the way they're going, for farmers, for ag retailers, really for anything. And the community likes it, they like the fact of you putting that spray, people don't very often like spray going through the air and just floating around, that's not very healthy, right? So we're getting it down on the crop at a lower level than an airplane would. People will make the comment of, I'm glad you're spraying with the drone, because when that airplane used to go by, I could taste it. It's like, so really, basically, what I'm getting at is the industry is really evolving quite fast, and to get people, to get help around, to keep things organized, and to be on top of all your logging, which is a big deal as well. That's probably our biggest limiting factor right now. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Which is a good problem.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds mainly more beneficial than anything, because the accuracy you would get with a drone compared to an airplane. I remember being on a grandma's farm and we'd be like, "Oh, it's spray day," and we'd watch all the airplanes and like, "Oh, who's that? Is that theirs? Whatever." And so the automation of, oh, you can watch this app, you can know who's spraying with their drone, kind of, you can expect for things. So maybe the person next to you isn't going to go out and plant or do whatever they might have thought of that day. But it sounds like, it's a win-win right now for anybody trying to save time and maybe a little bit of money. But I guess, we've talked a lot about what could go wrong, what should you think of, but maybe let's talk about more benefits that you weren't exactly expecting, but you kind of found along the way. Are there any of those?
Yeah. Pretty much, when you're making an investment, you look at how much guaranteed work you have and how much guaranteed income you can put towards this. And what totally blindsided us is we would be on the side of the field and we're spraying, and you have people stopping all the time. They're stopping. The neighbors are saying, "Hey, can you spray mine?" This neighbor down the road is, this guy owns an ag retail company and he's got acres for you. Pretty much they got maxed out really fast, and you wanted to help more than one people, but you didn't physically have the time. I would say that's a really big one. And then after starting to spray, just investing in the industry. So started spraying, and now I have a drone dealership now that does the Dakotas in Minnesota for several brands of drones, and just seeing the opportunity that's out there, helping people through what I went through originally, kind of navigated the roadmap to get to be where I'm at. And then now just providing people the tools and resources to do that themselves on their operations. So yeah, there's definitely those along the way, and that's a good sign to me. So
yeah, nice little enterprise that just kind of happened, huh?
That's right. Yep.
You're like, all my extra free time is now taken up to do work.
I wasn't banking on that anyway.
Right. Well, I guess, can you share how somebody might start this process, like where they could find resources? Maybe reach out to you directly. I don't know. That's possible. That's one.
That's your quickest way. Like anything else, you hit the Google, you hit the web, you're gonna find a million different things. You're gonna see the bad apples, you're gonna see the people with bad experiences, and good as well. If this is a sincere interest and desire that you want to navigate deeper, reach out. What we do is we set up a demo and we bring these drones out to your property, and show you how it works from start to finish. We get it out, we go, this is day one, and then show you how an operation would work, and then we can dive in a lot more serious and talk licensing and tender setup and all that stuff. That's definitely your quickest way. I have a folder of email. We get emails quite a bit, and I can just throw information docs on an email and get it out to you. I like just to send reading material. People are busy and they just pull up their email, pull up a couple PDFs, and they're gets their mind thinking. There's always stuff to learn in everything. So that's a good way. We'd love to just, even a phone call is really is good for us. So
I like that you said that, because sometimes a phone call can save you like 2 days of emailing.
Yeah.
About that. So, and kind of aside, we haven't talked about what you can do with drones. It's kind of where Sam comes in. Is maybe you want to map your area. Maybe you want to take videography of your farm and how it's changed several years. For producers out there who are interested, you could even start grant applications for trying to add one of these products to your lineup. I'm not well versed on how many drones have been approved, but it's definitely an innovative practice that allows automation, so you can have better. Well, I shouldn't say this, but Sam or Micah, do you get better yields? Have you noticed a change in your planting and harvesting?
Through certain management practices, yes. Yep. The stuff we put down is to increase yield. Correct. Yep.
We interview a lot of research grants and stuff, and so I think it would be really interesting if you don't have one of like, okay, we started this application on this year, and to see how it's changed compared to conventional airplane spraying.
Yep. There's a lot of tests out there that a better job is done in a drone than an airplane applying. Yes. Yeah. Like I said a little bit earlier, it's down closer to the crop. You get way less wind drift, way less just loss. So that's been
How high
big.
up are you, Micah? When you fly?
Yeah, 12 to 15 feet above the canopy. Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep.
And that is short.
So.
And then you also avoid those wind turbines and that an airplane can't really avoid.
Yeah, so turbines aren't going to move, so I like to have them mapped ahead of time so that drone knows it's there. You don't rely on its radar sensing. But now stuff like a tree, it can grow in different shape. It can kind of get bigger one year than the other. That is more, you hold away from them. It'll kind of obstacle sense and guide around it. But yeah, as much as I can map and put in as an obstacle before I get to the field, the better, because like our big one is spraying at 32 mile an hour. That's slow for a camera drone guy, but for a spray drone, I mean, that's moving through the field, and to stop 250 pounds in the air on a dime, that's what I don't quite. I'd rather not pay for parts. I'd rather take the time and map it correctly,
Right.
So
when you purchase a drone, do you get kind of that is there any warranty in case the worst happens?
yes, definitely there is. Yep. The problem with warranty is this is a robot and it's as smart as you make it. So a lot of things are your fault. And there's no getting around that because it's smart. So if we get a warranty claim, we go out there, we pull logs on that drone. It knows it crashed if it's bad enough. So it will spit out all the logs, after it's crashed, and we'll go pull them out on a USB. We'll bring them back. You can do it on the cloud too. But we'll bring them back, we'll plug them in, and it has the last couple minutes of video footage off of the camera, because these spray drones do have a camera on the front. It pulls in all the video footage. It pulls in if the sticks on the controller were being used or not, if it was in autonomous mode or manual mode. There's no hiding it. So there is warranty. There is not a lot of warranty claims. A lot of guys don't even fight it. They're just like, yep, I definitely, I ran that into the shed. So it don't happen that often. We like to train guys so that we prevent that. Yep.
Yeah, my next question was leading into the sensors. You know, it sounds like, you know, once you have put in the time to program it, it's good to go. You don't really have much.
Correct. Yep. I like to think of that field as kind of a room, and it's always going to stay in that room, and it's going to enter and exit at the same point, like the door. So if that's good, now let's say there's a wall down the middle of that room that has to be mapped so it doesn't hit that wall, and it will not leave the room. The walls go infinitely high. It'll all stay in that area, and you can map no spray zones or obstacles within that room and make it, and it'll make a route after that. So, but yeah, a lot of that comes into training, and that's what we like to do. You buy a drone from us, we spend an afternoon or a morning, however much time you want with you. And we want you to be comfortable with it before we take off. And that'll save time on both of our ends later on. So
that's really nice. That's a full hands-on experience, because we're fully responsible if anything happens to it.
One thing if you buy a car and the salesman lets you drive it home, right?
Yeah.
We all know how to drive a car. Maybe drones will be like cars someday. They'll be that common. So who knows?
Big possibility.
So. Yeah. Well, Sam, on your videography side, is there anything you want to add to a few farmers you've worked with? I know that you have a different operation than Micah, but it's still intriguing.
Yeah, he's got a big field of experience there than what I have. But no, more like I've done a few videos where people want like a memory video of their farm, like of the inside, the outside. I've had some people reach out for like a marketing purposes as like if they're like a pig farm or something like that. I'll just come by, get aerial video of it, and then get some ground video and just make them a 30-second to a 60-second clip. But basically, my biggest one is just pictures. People just want a picture of their farm. They want to hang it up in their living room, in their kitchen, and just have that as a memory. So that's basically what I do. I've had a few encounterments where I had to use a thermal drone because some guys lost their cattle. So I'll go out, do a cattle count, and look for that missing cattle. But that was just one time. But I thought that would be a great service in the future to have. Like, just put your drone up in the air and find where all the cattle, count all the cattle. But
the amount of stress you could save some producers, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So that was a nice one to have. Nice to have a thermal drone for that. But other than that, mapping. Like I use a Mavic 3 Enterprise for that one, but I don't do a whole lot of that. But I send all that data to another company, and they do all the analyzing. So can't really say much on that because I'm not really licensed to talk about it. But
yeah. I guess for me, I'm a newbie, and so you keep saying software and all this stuff. Is it complex to run the software, or is it kind of more user friendly? And do you need to pay for special packages like how Amazon or all these TV shows subscriptions get us? You need this one and this one and this one, or is it kind of just like you bought this, you've got the software, you're good to go?
Correct. That's what a spray drone is. Yep. But now, if you want to go into more in-depth mapping, like what Sam talks about, that you can get into other third-party softwares that are a little more confusing. But our software, it's actually an app from your phone or a tablet that you fly the drone with. So, yep, it's there.
Sam, do you have multiple companies, like you said, that you send out your information? Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Explain what I send out to, or
yeah, so like say somebody buys a drone, they want to do the thermal mapping, would they need to reach out to that company to help them, or would they,
if they wanted to buy a drone themselves? Like, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
If they want to buy the drone themselves, you can just go to Best Buy or Amazon. And then thing is, though, if you use it for a commercial project, you have to be licensed. If you're just going to do it for recreational purposes, then you can go out and buy a drone, but you have to know your settings, how to fly it, how to take pictures, and And that's where you kind of go on YouTube and spend hours on trying to figure that part out. But when you buy a drone, you're most likely just don't hit a tree. I think a lot of people hit trees when they first buy their drone. But no, I mean, you can go to Best Buy, Amazon, and that's probably your biggest place you can go to buy a drone. But otherwise, you can just, there's quite a few drone companies out there that can come out and do the service for you. So
There's a price range too. I mean, you could pretty much find, and I mean, of course, quality is going to differ, but you could pretty much find a drone for whatever price point you want. Personally, I bought like a $90 drone off Amazon and I crashed it into our fence. It's still fine. I just haven't used it since. But camera quality is kind of,
yeah,
the bigger the
DJI,
better, more expensive, right?
yeah, you can buy a DJI Mini for about what would you say, Micah, $300, $400?
Yep.
But you can buy that and it's got 4K camera quality, and you can just use that for your farm. But the lighter they are, the wind can pick it up and kind of, yeah, like that right there. Like you can find one for $400 and keep it at your own.
And would those smaller ones need licensing, or is it again over a certain
If it,
weight?
oh nope, you wouldn't need a license. If it's 55 pounds and over, you would need a license. But everything I work with, I do not need a license for that. You just, if you're gonna fly commercially, then you just need an FAA license. But other than that, no, you don't need a license.
And so, okay, so you're not licensed. Say you want to fly it in your area, and maybe you're in town, or maybe you're somewhere. Do you have to notify anybody? Do you have to tell anybody where
You
you're
always,
going?
yeah, that's a good question. You always want to check your airspace just to make sure you're not close to an airport, a prison, or other federal places. So you just gotta, there's an app that you can download. It's called Air Control, and I just check that before I fly anywhere and make sure how many feet I can fly at. Like you can fly legally at 400 feet, but there are some places where you can only fly at 100 feet, and it's important to know that because you don't want to exceed the altitude. And I don't know if they can pick that up or not, but you can get into a lot of trouble and then you'll never be able to fly a drone again. But yeah, you just kind of have to have an app, check your airspace, make sure it's safe to fly in there. And then if you do want to fly near an airport, you have to send out a notice to the FAA and give them like a 3 days in advance to get approved. So that's basically what I do if I ever fly near like a government property or the airport. But yeah, just nice. It's just nice to check that out before you try to fly.
Yeah, do your research. Do your
do your research.
Yeah, it's because you said you might potentially not be able to fly a drone at all if you get caught somewhere you're not supposed to be.
You can get into a lot of trouble if you fly near an airport. If you hit a plane or if you fly around the government buildings. I don't think there's a lot of restrictions on that, but there are restrictions, and it's important not to violate those restrictions. We'll probably get like a slap on the wrist, but I could personally lose my license if I were to fly near an airport, and then that would kind of put me out of business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that. So yeah, it's important just to check your airspace. Yep.
Yeah, and your licensing process, that if you have to do that every year.
Every 2 years, you have to take like a knowledge test. Your first time is like a $250 fee. You have to take a test at the airport. And then I think that's like the most complicated. It's not too complicated, but it takes about a month to learn. And every 2 years, you just take a knowledge test. Pretty simple.
Is that the same for you, Micah, in the ag industry, or are there different regulations?
Are you talking about the 107, Sam?
Yeah, the Part 107 license.
Yeah, it's the same license. And really the FAA, it's not a drone license. Like I think they kind of just threw at you what they had close. You're learning about runway angles and weather patterns and airspaces and stuff, but it's what you got to do to get your license. So
yep.
Well, you guys have shared so much information and answered so many really big questions that people probably would have spent hours Googling and being led down rabbit holes that didn't really end up to be anything. So I kind of want to open, if any of our attendees want to start, submitting questions, now would be a really good time to do that. I'm going to just ask like one last question. For each of you, if you want to take turns, what would be a great piece of advice for someone who's just starting, their drone process?
If I was talking to somebody, and I actually do all the time, that are just diving into the spray drone side, is do it right. A lot of people ask, do I have to do this and this? I just want to do my own. I always want to, I have a little bit in my back, on the farm that I want to do. And I tell them, I say, the thought crossed my mind as well. And what's going to happen is you're going to get that thing up in the air one time this summer, and neighbors are going to stop and people are going to hear you have it, and you'll be busy. So and then I would say execute it, and get involved, because we're new enough and we're early enough in the spray drone industry where you're going to have an upper hand on what comes in 5 years. If you get in now, you're going to be well versed, well experienced. And I think this is, with imaging or spraying, what comes in 5 years. So do it right, get set up, and I think there's a lot of potential to be made. So
yeah, like Micah said, to get in now, because right now the drone industry really is booming. Like within 5 to 10 years, it's going to be really big. It'll be like the new, we'll be able to replace a lot of jobs. But yeah, buy a drone, fly it, learn it.
Do you guys have any like visions of what 5 years from now drones will be looking like? Or do you not want to peer into your crystal ball too much?
I don't want to go into my crystal ball too much. Maybe for agriculture, it's going to be a lot. It'll be more of it, right? You would say, Micah?
Yeah, I'm looking into fully autonomous. So if you can get a dock that's by the field, and the drone is out there and it lands and it charges and refills on its own, and goes and sprays and it comes back and nobody's involved. That's where my mind thinks, but we'll see.
So that's a future capability. Right now, you have to be there to man the refill and the
you do have a pilot. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
hey man, get the drones to find your cattle, check your fences, spray your fields, do your seeds. Then you might actually be able to get a hobby.
It's pretty much a hobby that they call a job.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Enjoy what you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I bought it. Oh yeah. No, yeah. I bought it as a hobby, and then 8 years later, I decided to turn it into a business. There's always side hustle to do with it.
It seems like it's very in demand.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so, Micah, you mentioned a drone dealership. Is that your dealership where people directly work with you and just you, or is there like a third party manufacturer?
No, yeah. So it's me. So we opened a dealership. It's myself and then a guy out of central Minnesota, central western Minnesota, closer to Dakotas, and we do the 3 states. And yeah, a little bit in Nebraska. So I'm getting ramped up. Before this call, I was working on my new drone trailer for this year. So you haul a trailer around for these big spray drones, and yeah, it's looking like a fun year. So
you are constantly finding different avenues to use this. That's amazing.
yeah.
What is your dealership called for our viewers?
Dealership is Tenacity Ag, on the hat and the shirt, I guess. Yeah, look us up. Set up a demo if you want to know more, and just get it on your own turf and see what it looks like. So
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We haven't gotten really any questions submitted, so viewers, if you got a few that we didn't get to, that would be a great time. But I really, I like your confidence in it of, if you take the time to learn and research, you can be self-sufficient. You can do this on your own. You can save a large amount of money instead of using, a big commercial like an airplane and having all of that extra. Plus, it's beneficial because you're lower to the ground spraying, so you actually get better coverage, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, is there any last closing statements you both would like to share?
not on my part. Nope.
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you, viewers, for taking the time today. Thank you, guests. for sharing your knowledge. We really appreciate it. And for those of you who want more information, once we upload this, I'll make sure to have Sam and Micah's contact. So maybe you want just the simple video mapping and you want to reach out to Sam, or maybe, you know, you want to talk to Micah more about what he could help benefit with, or maybe you want to start your own drone hobby or whatever have you. So thank you guys again. You'll be able to contact them directly. And this segment has been funded by a partnership with the Natural Resources Conservation Service and the South Dakota Specialty Producers Association to promote sustainable agricultural practices and environmental stewardship. And if you want to catch up on our upcoming our upcoming webinar features, we have a few more scheduled for April. So just watch our Facebook pages there. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.